Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's let the minutes show up. Ryan will not be here tonight, so he's out of town. So we were all given the minutes of the April 22nd meeting. Was there any additions or corrections to those meetings by council members? So hearing none, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes as they stand.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, first on the agenda tonight, we have Donna Malcolm from the Huntingburg Library additional appropriations. Could you come up and maybe give us, Donna, if you would, I'd appreciate it if you would give us a little update on what's going on and where you're at with the project.
All right, well, if you might remember, we came in August of last year to give you an update on what was going on. Well, we finally got everything ready and we went out to bid in April. The bids are, it's out for bid now. Those bids are due back the 29th, correct? They'll be open then, and then we'll select, the lowest bidder. We're working with the UVA over in Vernon with that process. We are going out, we've got like a main bid of the main renovation for the main building. And then there was two options, A and B. So depending on how much they come in at and what extra money we need, that'll determine if we do A and B. We think we've got enough for the main already with what we've got saved. So we're asking for an additional appropriation of $3 million that's in our bank account so that we can spend that. We think it'll be more, but we'll work with our rep up in Indy to put the rest of it in the budget for next year.
And this has been, I guess, legally published.
Yes, it was in the Herald the 25th and the Press the 24th of April.
I guess I'll ask if there's any public comment to this. For the Huntingburg Library, it's $3 million total for capital outlay. It's additional appropriation. So there's none, hearing none. And I'll open it up for the council if anybody's got any questions for Donna. Otherwise, I think you did a great job in August explaining what you were doing. And I don't know.
Summer, is there going to be any more room available for you?
Enrollment, the children's area is going to be totally moved down to the basement to allow programming space, to expand our collection.
That program brings in people from all parts of the county. I
It
think it's
does.
really good. So.
Yeah, we actually love it. Yeah, we're excited.
Good.
Yeah.
So would you introduce yourself for the
Oh,
public?
sorry, I am Lisa Smith-Williams. I'm the library director at Huntingburg.
Thank you for coming also.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to make this additional appropriation, $3 million.
Make a motion.
Okay, Alex has made a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Doug has second. So any other further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the same board here, I had discussed or called Mary Jane Schumacher and Melissa Baglin are both, their term on the library board is expiring, and I think it goes till May 30th, and we want to, I talked to both of them, they're both agreeable to serve another 4 years term on that board, so I guess we have to approve those appointments to the board tonight.
I would be there. Would you do that or?
We will. I think she's got the paperwork ready. So any discussion there?
Appreciate their willingness to serve.
Okay.
Continue serving.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve both. Do we have to do it both
Together's fine.
together? To appoint Mary Jane Schumacher and Melissa Baglin to the Huntingburg Library Board for another 4-year term. I think beginning June 1st, I think.
It's July 1 to June 30th, 2028.
Okay, I'm sorry, July, we're a little bit ahead of the game here, I think.
Better get ahead of it than behind.
Daryl has made a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia has seconded, so any other further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you again. I
Thank
think she will,
We'll get you the forms.
Okay.
Lynn
We'll
will,
just-
Lynn will, my office will. And then we'll talk when I have to enter your stuff for the additions. And I'll send you all of that.
Okay, so we'll send it to you. All right, thank you.
What's the best way to contact you? You're talking to somebody else.
Oh, okay, yeah. Email is fine. Yeah, and I can run over your comments. All right, thank you.
okay, Travis, are you gonna
Yes.
introduce yourself?
Thank you. Travis McQueen with the Huntingburg Airport. I am here on behalf of the Du Bois County Airport Authority, who I want to introduce at this time.
Yes.
We have, starting from the left to the right, Mike Cummings. He's a Du Bois County appointee. He's our vice president. Phil Schneider is our legal counsel. In the back row, Jim Hensinger, the airport president of the Airport Authority. Ken Schnaus, Rick Mann, and then, of course, I think most of you all know Becky as well. So, Phil, if you guys want to join me up here front, whoever feels like you to step up when we time is appropriate. So this is a little bit of a committee effort. I want to thank you guys for allowing us to stop by and to make this request. As you probably know, we did approach the Du Bois County Commissioners last week. And we are here this evening. So to talk about the handout, I want to kind of show you this as I talk through this. At the front page here is the Frosty Jones Terminal Building. Frosty Jones was a native who started the airport in the 30s, 1938, native to Duff, Indiana, metropolis of Duff, Indiana. This is an airport overview, page 2, airport overview. You can see the topics we're going to get into this evening for the discussion. So airport overview slide, the third slide into the package that was handed out. General aviation facilities, what we have right now at the airport, started in 1938, like I mentioned about Mr. Jones. It has evolved into a full-service general aviation facility through partnerships, various partnerships in the past. It was privately held until the city acquired it in '67 there, and then in '83, the city of Huntingburg and the county merged together to form the Airport Authority to financially sustain and help really better support, better invest into the airport. In the last 5-7 years, we've seen in excess of $14 million. This is $14 million. I forgot to add another million to that. The taxiway light improvements we did in 23. So we've lengthened and widened the runway there at the airport. The majority of that dollars are spent from the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA invests typically 90% of most projects we do at the airport, which is a great return on investment for us locally here in the county. Aircraft, we see everything from little single engine airplanes, from an ultralight where it's a one-seater, up to, you see, I got noted here, the Boeing 737. In 2004, we had a Boeing business jet come in twice, yes, on purpose, in 2004, and we need to clarify that point to folks. It is a valuable resource for recreational users and the businesses at the airport. Just a fabulous facility. We have a variety of ground services the Airport Authority now provides to the public, ranging from refueling aircraft, hangaring, spaces for rent, whether that's a helicopter. We have 2 helicopters going to be on the airport next week, and a variety of aircraft sizes and all the like. 13 hangars total on the airport, 38 aircraft. Of those, the most important thing I can communicate to the public is the Big 5. Kimball International, OFS Brands, Best Chairs, or Best Home Furnishings, better known as Master Brand Corporation, Jasper Engines and Transmissions. These Big 5 corporations have invested into the Airport Authority through facilities, through infrastructure, through pilots, through aircraft, through mechanics. These 5 employ in excess of 8% of our employee base here at the airport. I think we all know somebody that works at one of these major manufacturers and has utilized the airport. We, the airport, are there for these companies simply as a conduit. It's a mobility tool for the companies to fly their decision makers, their dealers, their wheelers through the airport to acquire their products and services, whether that's Jasper Engines and Transmissions, flying the mechanics to the airport for a tour of the facilities to sell more engines, Kimball International doing the same thing, OFS, they all do a similar type of business utilization of the airport and their assets invested into the airport over 50 years. The first page here, the nice highlighted economic impact of the airport authority. The bottom line is we contribute to over $20 million in local economy, statewide economy. That's payroll that's derived from that number is so large because of those corporations utilizing the airport, the numbers of employees each one of those corporations have. So I forgot to mention Superior Ag. Superior Ag also utilizes the airport, as you guys know, during crop dusting season. So that does impact our local farmers as well. This is a statewide study that was done by the Aviation and Office of Aviation. This is not our data. This is the NDOT's data. So you can see the large impact aviation has to the statewide across the whole state, the region, farther beyond that. The next slide is the current situation or overview. We have received a grant offer from the Federal Aviation Administration for $3.3 million. This advances our proposed Frosty Jones Terminal Building project. That project was budget estimated to be $6.5 million in 2022. So we are looking at more than 50% of that project has been funded by the FAA. Our current terminal building is inadequate. It's built in the 1960s and no longer meets the needs of the use of that facility. We have insufficient space. We have outdated facilities and accessibility challenges as noted. Our goals are to craft or have this new facility, which would produce a nice size footprint, over 5,000 square foot. That space now will then be able to be utilized simultaneously by the Patoka Valley Career Technical Education Center, which of course is the program that feeds all the high school kids, not from Du Bois County exclusively, but also Pike County, surrounding county, Spencer County, Perry County, all feeding that program, including Du Bois County. All four Du Bois County high school students are fed in that program. All the design and the estimations has been completed by our engineering consultant, Wolpert Engineering, and this has been a community collaboration. We are looking at every opportunity to make a request for this project to move forward because we have more than 50% of the funds identified and been offered through a grant from the FAA. So that's IEDC, so the Indiana Economic Development Corporation through Ready 2.0. We've applied there. We've applied for a Radius Indiana. If we hear about it, we certainly want to pursue it, and we've asked a variety of folks, including like the mayor of Huntingburg, who sat down with the regional economic development folks, the local economic development folks, to ask where are some of the rocks that we can turn over to go after dollars and cents. So we're applying for all those. The next slide, existing terminal building, the need, age and wear, 6 decades of use is lacking in efficiencies and functional infrastructure. It lacks modern facilities and features, amenities. It does not meet the expectations of a pilot coming into the airport, much more than his passengers, a VIP person or a CEO of a company, because it's a singular room. You'll see here in a second, it's one room where we are accommodating all the needs of the flying public in one location at one time. So it doesn't take much to where you're stepping on other people's toes. The ADA challenges, of course, that's a modern time thing versus the early 1960s. The efficiencies in terms of energy and sustainability were, conceptualized in the 60s. Education opportunities, if you start a flight lesson and/or you're doing a check ride, the CR stands for check ride, then that's a challenge to really get that completed as you're sitting down at a desk in the terminal building and somebody walks in just to simply use the restroom can be a great inconvenience. The next thing is a diagram. So we all see the blue diagram. If you take the outside diameters there and kind of multiply that out, that is the 1,000 square foot facility. The next picture, first here, right along, is the terminal building. This is the first impression. As you get off your corporate jet and come to our region, to our community, this is the first impression. That's a concrete block building. Certainly served its long, useful life, and we're wanting to update and upgrade this first impression to a more modernized look. If you look at the next page, this is a busy traffic little slide. This shows the congestion. This was where we hosted an FAA seminar. So this is some of our local pilot group. And can you imagine we're in the middle of a FAA seminar and then walk somebody, hey, where's the bathroom at? And I'm moving, so it's a little bit tight. The next page is again, kind of that front welcoming of terminal building, what our proposed project will look like. And the next page is the breakout diagram of the layout and the schematics. And we did not complete this study in a vacuum. All the design engineering was completed with input from our local pilot groups, from a variety of our educational sources, from Patoka Valley, to all the users of the airport. This is the front door to our region. It is the first impression. It caters to our corporate clients, private pilots, flight schools, flight training can all be completed simultaneously, whether you're doing flight planning, weather briefings, the like. Conference facilities, we have a nice large room there for the classroom, aviation classroom, to transpire while we have other things going on. And so one of the really nice things is it's going to have a mezzanine second story, so passengers waiting to get on or off the aircraft can sit there and kind of wait and kind of have a nice overview of the airport. Community events, gatherings, just think those kindergartners that's coming out next week, from Northeast Du Bois has come through the airport, 40 students are coming out, we always are hosting those type of events. We want to be able to do that, kind of showcase the airport. This will allow us to put them all in the same classroom, kind of walk through what's going on, through a PowerPoint presentation. Pilots Lounge is super critical for pilots. You have 3 a.m., drop your passengers off, they need to catch a snooze, it's a rest duty issue. They need nice facilities to be able to accommodate some rest. Right now, they would literally be sleeping in these 2 chairs while the rest of us are meeting in the terminal. That's what it's like now, sort of the awkwardness. Overview, you can see where the airport's going to be proposed. The terminal building is the green dot in the middle of the airport, south of that central ramp. To the right side's where the existing terminal building is at. And then again, this is a shot from the roadside, the parking area of what the terminal building would look like. Straight in from the ramp view. And then this is sort of that inside mezzanine view of being inside the mezzanine with second story. Terminal building finances. Let's cover this current. I want to jump over to the current airport investment. Again, the airport authority has invested to date about $700,000 in this project. Money out of our pocket into this project. We've done all the engineering design services. We anticipate matching with our dollars to the federal funds that will come as a result of that $3.3 million. Current airport property tax collections. Bill, you want to do this one? You want me to cover this one? Yeah, thank you, Phil.
The exhibit that Travis is referring to, Phil Schneider for the record, Lewis County Airport Authority attorney. So we're looking at this current property tax collections. And the purpose of this is to show, and we have 2 funds. We have a general fund and a cumulative building fund. Now, the general fund supports our general operations at the airport. And so we are annually collecting about $140,000 to support operating. Our operating budget is about $300,000 a year. So the difference is generated from revenue on the premises, hangar revenue, hangar rent, and fuel sales, and those and other services that the airport actually provides. So about half of our general operating budget is by property taxes, and we're at the max there. We can't levy anymore. And the other half is we generate on operations. We are allowed to levy about a third of 1 penny per $100 of assessed valuation for a cumulative building fund. Now those are the only funds that we have available to make upgrades to the facilities on the airport. Hangar upgrades, repair, maintenance, any infrastructure that needs to be repaired. Those are the only funds we have available to make for those projects. And so we're generating about $95,000 a year in tax revenue there. That's 1/3 of 1 penny per $100 of assessed valuation. Again, what we're trying to show is that we operate on less than 29% of tax money. The total operation of the airport is based on less than 29% of property taxes. So what are some of our options to raise the funds we need? On the next page, there's a little narrative about borrowing. There is a possibility. The airport authority is authorized to issue tax-exempt general obligation bonds. These are bonds that would be publicly marketed and sold. But repayment for those bonds would be out of a special tax levy on all the property in Du Bois County. The issuance of the bonds is subject to the 2% of 1/3 assessed valuation of the county general obligation limit is 2% of 1/3 of the assessed valuation. And this would be on top of whatever other obligations the county has outstanding. You can't exceed 2% of 1/3 of your assessed valuation. And so I'm not sure where you are, but that, I think I did a rough calculation. The total general obligation ability of the county would be about 160 million, I believe. And I don't know what kind of general obligation bonds you have outstanding totally, but this would be added to that and would reduce your capacity to issue future general obligation bonds. So, but nonetheless, if there's capacity there, general obligation bonds would be a possibility. They would have to be approved not only by you, but by the city of Huntingburg, since it was a joint effort, a joint organization, and also by the Department of Local Government Finance. Since the total project, even though we're not financing more than $2 million, the total project exceeds $2 million. So it is considered a controlled project and would be subject to the petition remonstrance procedure. You might be familiar with that, which could subject the project to the voter process, which is expensive to conduct. It'd have to be a referendum on a general election, and would delay the project for probably a number of years. In addition to that, since these bonds have to be sold in the public, the airport authority would have to hire bond counsel and municipal financial advisor, which would add to the cost approximately $75,000. But it just seems unfair to the property taxpayers to add another tax, general tax on the levy on the property of DuBois County, when we believe there are local income tax funds that are available for this purpose, without having to levy additional taxes on property. But that's what we are submitting to the council tonight, to consider that. The airport authority also has the authority to enter into loan contracts, and we can enter into loan contract as we did with the county council some years ago, kind of as a money to put toward this runway project when we ran short. We never had to tap onto it. But the problem with the loan contracts are they may not be repaid from property taxes. So it can only be repaid from revenues that we generate on the operations, and those wouldn't be sufficient to cover operations and to service the debt on $1.5 million or $2 million bond. So we don't believe that borrowing is a real option. Do you want me to go ahead with funding sources, or are you going to?
Yeah. So the next page is the funding summary. So this is sort of the bottom line of the 2022 engineer completed their estimations in terms of the cost, and then we sat down with an adjustment for inflation for 2024. As we all know, we're all being impacted at the grocery store and a variety of other sources with inflation. And you can see that adds in excess of $1.5 million for inflational costs related to the project that was originally estimated in 2022. So in conclusion, the airport authority is requesting an appropriation of $1.5 million from the edit or fund, the income tax fund, to be utilized toward the construction of the terminal building. Opportunity to leverage the $3.3 million of FAA dollars that have already been offered to us if we act now. We do have a little bit of a time constraint that we found out about last week, in fact. It's a worthy investment in future economic development, education of the airport, public safety. I think that we're all impacted some indirect way by the utilization of the airport. We certainly see the corporations and the ag industry supported by the airport's investments. It is our front door. Let's not forget, it is our front door to the DuBois County and also to the region. Whether those are folks flying in for tourism, manufacturing, hospitality, healthcare, and a variety of other purposes and reasons. It is a gateway to the skies for education, leisure, and business. And the economic impact, I think, speaks for itself for the rate of output for the investment that we stick into the airport authority. With that, I want to recognize my other board members now and ask for questions, and I'm going to kind of look to them and lean on them as well. So with that, I certainly would appreciate any questions you guys might have. Alex, please, oh, Mike, sorry.
Go ahead. Simone.
On the economic development side, is this gonna be the horse before the cart? Because we've talked about 6 potential things on that shelf already signed out there. And do we have to have a nice terminal are we any further along with any of those groups coming in and doing some development in that area?
Sure, so I would respond to that to say, yes, this is that first impression when that owner of the business is looking to expand, grow, relocate, come to our region, what is his first impression of that? And that would have a factor into that decision. To get into the specifics of the property, yes, we're able and willing, to continue to look at that, Alex, and we want to see that happen. Now, it's a question of, we have some constraints with the way that some of the property was paid for by federal dollars, what we can exactly do with that property. So that's one of our larger limitations for the economic development, to your point, with the property that we do have there, we're trying to market.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Orange County do a pretty big upgrade?
I appreciate that.
And I guess the reason I asked that is, how did they go about it? Did they do the similar type of thing that you're asking for? Did they get into grant?
I'm not an expert at that. I'll default to somebody like Mike or another board member here. But my understanding is that, yes, Orange County Fiber came through the airport, down County Road 200 from 900, actually off of 200 coming into 900, provided fiber upgrades to the airport authority, which was greatly needed, grossly overdue. And it's my understanding that maybe they utilized some state dollars. I'm looking back to his head shakes on how they upgraded. The gym was impacted by that. But that's my understanding that they used some state dollars to provide some of that infrastructure upgrades to the state of Indiana. That's my understanding. But yeah, that was a much needed upgrade that we now have at the airport. We're able to the next day, I don't see Steve's not with us tonight, but the next day we're able to get online once we got the fiber in, and the students and we and the staff in the office was able to all utilize, the internet without, bogging it down. So that was a big infrastructure upgrade we really needed in rural Indiana.
Well, I think we forgave the poll tax on the internet. I thought the airport in Orange County was upgraded. Did they do a building upgrade in Orange County or not?
I'm not aware of, I can't answer that question. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Are you talking about the Toyota building in Orange County?
Yeah.
Yes, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, some years ago, probably 10 years ago, Orange County at the French Lake Airport did upgrade and update their terminal building. And it went from probably 1/2 of the size of our terminal building to a very fabulous facility that kind of matches the facade of the French Lake Hotel and the casino, the tan block. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. So I should have grabbed a photo of that to include that in this. But yes, they did do that in the last 10 years. I believe that the general primary contractor was before, don't help me, what was Craftsman Construction, I think, as I recall. And this has been some time ago. So yeah,
There was a young airport manager, even younger than you.
Yeah, Zach Brown. Yes, Zach Brown.
He told me the story, but I don't know how they funded it, how they did all the referendum, what kind of grant they got. But Matching Casino was nice.
Absolutely.
And then, like you said, you got high speed from Orange County, which helps your terminal building too. But I just didn't know if we could kind of look back and see how they went about that process. I didn't ask you.
Yeah, if I'm speculating here a little, but I believe there was a lot of Cook dollars invested in that project. So that's my understanding, because they had a vested interest to see the casino continue to grow and be that it's the front door for the folks flying in. There's quite a bit of jet traffic going in and down the French Lake Airport for the casino. Yeah. Thank you for the questions, Alex. Other questions?
I just got a question.
Yeah, please.
The design, you said
Yes.
it's complete.
The design is
So that's just preliminary.
thank you for that, Mike. Yes, the design is absolutely complete. In fact, I'll just share, guys, feel free to jump in here. I'll just share, as of last Tuesday, we had received a notification from the FAA that they would like to see the bids in hand by June the 20th. Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually, they want
Good.
to, FAA is difficult to work with. They encourage you to make applications for grants, and you make the applications and you wait for months to hear from them. And then all of a sudden it's announced that you got the grant, you've got 48 hours to accept it. And so that means in the past, we've had to do that. We've had to call special meetings to get together and approve the grant. The same thing happened here. Wasn't this part of the American Rescue Act funds?
Yeah, Bill.
They were part of the bill funds. Congress dedicated, I think, $75 billion for projects such as this, specifically for terminal buildings and regional airports, small and medium-sized regional airports. And we were encouraged to apply for this, and we applied for it. And unfortunately, it was announced that we were awarded, but we weren't awarded the full $6.5 million we asked for. We were awarded $3.3 million. Late last week, actually, our engineer was told, well, you have to have the FAA is saying you have to have this under contract by June 20. And as you know, we can't enter into contracts unless we have the funds on hand. We have almost $3.5 million on hand. We believe we have some discretionary funds that are coming from the FAA, about $300,000. But I think you see that what the shortfall is there on the second last page.
The funding summary.
And so we're in somewhat of a time crunch. Now, we are applying for the Ready Point 2 grant of $1.3 million, and we're also applying for a Radius Indiana grant of $100,000. We believe we'll receive something. We don't know if we'll receive all of it, but we do have pretty confident about that. But it still leaves us with about $1.5 million shortfall. The airport authority does have some funds. It has funds in its cumulative building fund, but that is the fund it will use to pay the matches that are required here. It's also the fund that it has to use in order to maintain existing infrastructure. The infrastructure on the airfield and to make improvements as deemed necessary. We also have some operating funds, but of course, those can't be replaced. Once those are spent, those are spent. But we are willing to contribute what it takes to do this project. I think the air board is asking the county council to commit to $1.5 million toward this project. If we don't need it because we get other funding or other grants, or we can contribute additional funds from our sources, we won't draw upon the entire request. But we do have to have funds in hand by June 20, or at least a commitment for funds in hand by June 20, so that we can enter into construction contracts.
And we are ready to go to bid, like, we're ready to put that package out on the street. I think the end of next week is what we heard. Next week, end of next week. So it's not a pie in the sky project that's got to go through design and all that time. It's ready to rock and roll.
Had this timeline been made known to us sooner, we would have been in here a lot sooner. We just found out about it last week. And it's just the way the FAA works. It's a hurry up and wait, and then all of a sudden you have to do something. So, but we would certainly appreciate your consideration for this. We've got, we're going to lose $3.3 million, probably closer to $3.5 million in grants, and we've already spent $700,000, roughly $4 million, a little over $4 million if this project doesn't move through. So I certainly appreciate the county's participation.
Any idea on timeline for any of these ready grants?
Yes. So yes, we did participate in a Zoom call with, I think Josh was on that as well a couple of Fridays ago, and I asked the specific question, how fast can we tap into the dollars? I believe they said 25, that this year 24 was not going to be available, but the awards will be made publicly this year. So they're kind of dealing with getting the dollars funneled from IDC to the regional entity, and then they would be dispersed from that regional entity after this went through this selection process and the like. So we anticipate putting the bids on the street, going through that whole process, potentially just moving dirt because we have a significant amount of dirt. You see where it's located on the airport, and then letting that dirt settle for 4 months before we come back in 25, and you're counting your 25 to start the building and all that. So that's sort of what we're thinking in terms of timing. So the dollars, and since to your question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So you have no idea when Ready Grant and all those are going to come. They'll be just sometime in 24.
We think we'll find out what the dollar amounts are we'll receive from Ready in 24, but we don't think we can tap those until 25. Yeah. Good question, Alex.
You said you landed a 737 before the airport runway expansion? Actually, now we can, and the biggest aircraft.
Bring it on.
Right,
Yeah.
Matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went, the 737 came in 2004. We had a 5,000 by 75 foot runway. Now, of course, have a 5,501 foot by 100 foot wide runway. And we definitely want to accommodate that size of aircraft. You know, I think we all heard talk, maybe it's a dream to see Major League Baseball come through. Wouldn't that be cool at League Stadium or something like that? You know, and we are now able to accommodate that.
You know, I think it speaks to his cart before the horse question to begin with, was the extension of the runway, taxiway lights, so deal with the aircraft that can come in and the safety of the aircraft with the taxiway lighting and everything else. And then I think the terminal building has always been a desire because of the 1962. And it, you know, the FAA applications have been made and turned down, and then this last one was actually approved. So I'm newest to the board. No, Becky's newest to the board, but we are newest to the board. So it was encouraging for us to come in, especially myself after coming from Kentucky, being on the airport board there, and just seeing how much due diligence the board precedent to me coming here had the foresight and just the thoughtfulness. So to me, fiscally efficient is to take advantage of FAA's dollars while it's offered.
I'll maybe just piggyback on that comment there. On my time, I've been on the board since 2009, so maybe 15 years or so. And normally this kind of funding is not available for a terminal for this specific purpose. It actually was part of the bill legislation and all of that was passed a few years ago. So I think applications run for just a couple of years. We were declined the first year, so you know we feel fortunate to even have the opportunity with a $3.3 million grant. But I think part of the urgency to do it is that you know it's really the only opportunity we've ever had to address the terminal. You know, and it's the first time that funding's come up that was dedicated for terminals. It was only $100 million, I think, total through the whole nationwide. It was nationwide competitive. So to get $3 million out of that, you know, competing nationwide, we feel like it's an opportunity that, you know, if we don't act now, we might not get another chance that's this good to move on it again. You know, so.
And to speak to your question about the other funds, the 1.5 that we're requesting tonight at least allows us to move forward with the federal grant money and continue pursuing the other funding opportunities so that we can keep our operating fund shored up for the needs of operating the airport.
Well, the question I had was the solar park proximity. Is that FFA said anything about that? Because I've had a few pilots that were kind of negative on that. I don't know if it could affect anything in the future.
Yes, so I appreciate that question. So for those that don't know, there's a major solar park farm being developed to the west of the airport, kind of north and west of the airport facilities. And it's my understanding that all projects like that have to be presented to the FAA for a study, a glare study. And that's a federal decision that gets made after analysis done by an engineering firm. So that's my understanding. And I haven't seen the net end results recently. I don't know if you've heard anything recently.
No, I just, you know, in the broad sense, I just don't want to get the terminal going. And then the FFA says something about our airport and we can't stop the solar park and it's dangerous for some certain types of flights to come in. It's just something I thought about.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
You referenced the Big Five, did you say Big Five or Big
Yes,
Six?
so the big five, it should be the big six. I like that. So the page.
I know, I see, anyway.
There you go, good.
Just referencing that, is there concern about decreased traffic, since, am I correct to say that 2 out of those 5 have corporate headquarters as well?
Well, that is a great question. After KI got acquired, stock acquisition by H&I, that would have been, help you guys timing.
A year ago or so.
Yeah, a year ago or so. We then went into negotiations with their renewal of their lease. That was a major concern that
Timing is bad,
Yeah,
at least.
yes, yeah, for negotiations of that. However, when we got on the call with their legal counsel, his point and comment was, correct me if I'm wrong here, Phil, he says, what does the lease say? That's what we want to do. We want to continue to renew this lease. So, so that really settled our concerns there.
They told us they had no intent of moving their aircraft facilities out of Huntingburg Regional.
Absolutely.
It was 5-year renewal and then, it's 5-year renewal terms, yeah.
Is it fair to disclose that if, when we were declining the first grant, we actually had conversation about if they left, utilizing that as the terminal building? It was gonna still have similar constraints to the existing terminal building. It's not been mentioned, but the existing terminal building can accommodate one corporate airplane. The new terminal building, if you saw the plat, is much larger tarmac for more aircraft. But that was something that we discussed. But as already been mentioned, they want to renew their contract.
Yeah, and that's a scenario where, we're finally starting to enjoy some revenues off those leases. The initial development of those gave terms that where, the corporations, maybe they put the initial investment in, and I think we're all thankful that they did that, but then moving forward, they had a lease of like $1 a year. So once those initial 20, 30-year terms from when the buildings were built, those are now cycling out to where we actually are getting revenue finally off some of these leases, to where, that's a really nice facility, and we're glad to have that under lease. But for us to sort of cannibalize another building, it's just a lost revenue for us, lost revenue opportunity. So we want to lease those hangars out that we have. And, they're all full now, so.
Yeah.
So some clarification here. So you got the plans ready, you're gonna bid.
Yes.
And you're gonna get the bids on June 22nd, is that what you said?
Correct, yes. They have to be,
So how do then I thought you said you have to prepare the site.
we do. So the dirt work is what we
You're
gotta
gonna
do.
let that sit 4 months. So how do you sign a contract? So you're gonna make the contractor hold their price, is that what you're saying?
So yeah, so we'll go to bid, we'll go to market, and then we'll get bids in hand. Help me out here, Phil. And that would be part of the contract, so that they know they gotta move the dirt first, let it settle, let it sit. We did the same thing on the taxiway project line. So they'll know that it has to sit, and then they can come into construction, in 25. So they might have to sit for 6 months or so before they erect the building. So the dirt work has to be.
You wanna sign a contract and then the contractor would do the site work
That's correct.
as part of the project?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, okay, and then what about the adjusted for inflation? It looks like it's up $500,000.
Right.
So how's that gonna be, how's that gonna be, where's that money coming from?
So that's why we're asking the 1.5 is for that inflation. That's the difference, right? I forget what slide I
On the left-hand side of that exhibit, it shows that the 22, the shortfall is only going to be $1,074,000.
Yeah.
But with inflation, it's now $1,570,000.
So that's why our ask is 1.5.
And to like we did on the runway project, the ball, have you, or we land use portion of that, is that, you're saying that you could not pay that back over a long period of time, 20 years or whatever? If the county would use their, and land you 50, I'm just saying, 500,000.
It would be a challenge.
Yeah, the only way we could enter into that type of an arrangement is if we paid it back with operating revenues. We can't use property taxes to pay back these loan contracts. It's just the way it is in the statute for airport authorities. We can use FAA money if FAA would let us to pay back these loan contracts, and we can use revenue from our operations. But we need the revenue from our operations to actually cover the shortfall that property taxes don't cover. And the FAA will not let us use grant money to pay back a loan. They're going to say, no, we'll give you the grant money, but it's going to be for this or that project, this improvement, that improvement. So realistically, it's either asking the county council for money from the local income tax fund, economic development fund, or issue revenue, or issue bonds, general obligation bonds, which would be another tax burden on the taxpayers. And it would probably add, I don't know what it would add to the base, but it would add.
Okay, well, thank you. I wanted to make sure to clarify that before.
I have a question about the timeline. The READY grant, you said it's gonna be awarded in 24 sometime this year, and then you have to use it by 25. Is there any other constraints on other funding, like the 3.3 million has to be used at a certain time, or has to wait? And
Right,
it
so
seems like there's a lot of different things going on where you have to have, or you're gonna get the site ready and wait 4 months, and then is there any other time constraints that we need to work on as far as that goes?
So the situation is certainly fluid. Other time constraints, I'm not cognizant. Board, help me out. If anything else, I'm not aware of anything else other than the ones we mentioned. You know.
I believe the FAA grant has to be fully expended by 2028, I
Yeah,
think.
that's correct.
Bill, that's correct. It's 20, it has to be out.
It has to be under contract this year, June 20, but we've got until 2028 to actually close out the project and finish the
So
construction.
you foresee this project being completed
In a year.
25, correct, maybe 26?
Yeah. Depending on weather, you know. So, yeah.
I think
Well, go ahead.
unless you got a lot.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you. Yeah, I don't want to, yeah, just very much appreciate your
I
time.
think we're not, we
Yeah.
have to take this under,
Sure.
our next meeting is what, the 22nd or whatever, 20,
June 17th.
17th, so we would be, we could discuss it again. I think, it would be nice to have budget time to do this, but, if it's going to jeopardize the project, I guess we have to let you know when we go here. I think, I appreciate everyone coming in. I think I think we're all in support of it, that's for sure, but financially, we have to take a look at that part.
What, your next meeting is when now, sir?
June 17th.
June 17th. Wow.
I know it's kind of close to your other.
It would be nice to have the bids in, before, that you would know.
We'll have the bids in before, he's talking about second week of June, he believes.
Yeah.
So
should have that.
bids in hand, we'll know what it is.
So you would know if you're under or over budget.
Yes.
Right, that would be great to know that.
Now, part of that $6.5 million estimate includes professional services during construction, construction inspection and engineering during construction.
Right.
So, though, we don't know what portion of the 6.5 million that is, I'm sorry, we don't know. But those funds we don't have to have on hand by June 20. We can't enter into a contract until we have funds on hand to do the construction contract. And so that's what we're looking for.
Makes sense.
And we believe that'd be a maximum the maximum shortfall would be 1.5 billion, maybe less than that, depending on bids.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
all for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
We have to advertise before.
Advertising additional appropriation.
For that, so far, June.
Well, if you want to give them something out of one of the funds, I have to do it for the next meeting.
So we're gonna have to. No, well, we just need to advertise. So we're gonna have to do at least that, make sure, because they need about 20th or 22nd. 20th. So,
Well, I'm not really looking to make that decision today, or even.
I don't think we need to make a decision, but we need to advertise it if we would, right? And we can decide not to at the meeting.
I'm not really ready to do that, unless someone wants to.
I think this is significant, I think some more research here.
So, I think our word would be good. We don't have to have money in the bank, that's for sure.
I thought that we needed to have the money on hand.
We certainly take your word. We'll certainly take your word, whatever your decision is.
Okay, I was just wanting to make sure, because you
We're
said
just
you
trying
need
to-
the money on hand.
We're just trying to comply legally. We're supposed to have the money in hand. It's
Before
supposed to be appropriated and available.
And before you sign it, you just have to sign it the day you get the bids.
Technically, we don't. If the contract is void, I don't think the contractor is going to object if we go ahead with the contract anyway, assuming we get the money.
But I mean, normally like we did at the jail, you have to have 60, make bids, but, you have to hold it for 60 days.
Certainly, we understand, we're just as at a loss as you are considering this, because we just heard about this deadline last
Right,
week.
and this was kind of strong on the council, I mean, this is a lot of money.
It is.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Clark Eads, I'm sorry, come on. Introduce yourself, we got some more, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
How are you, so can you introduce yourself
Yep.
to the public?
My name is Heath Kitzer. I'm with Clark East Engineers. I think the last time Clark East was up here in front of you, it was a former employee of ours, and I've taken over the role of this project, the Regional Sewer District project. And so, just wanted to come here today to kind of give an update to the council on kind of where the project stands. Currently, the Regional Sewer District was officially formed with IDEM. The petition was accepted and granted and officially formed with a signature from the IDEM commissioner. That happened Valentine's Day?
Yeah, right.
About Valentine's Day. And so that part has officially taken place, and the county is now working towards formally setting up the Regional Sewer District Board and all that entails. And so they're working towards that part as we speak. Moving on to some of the funding aspects, SRF, the State Revolving Fund, the Indiana Finance Authority, we work really closely with them. They provide a lot of the loan. The loan application, they provide a lot of the money, the funding for building the project with low interest loans. And so we collaborate with them pretty frequently. As a part of that process, we have to submit early on a preliminary engineering report. So those are due every year, April 1st. We recently submitted one to them. It is currently under review. We will hear back from them. We anticipate probably hearing back a little bit sometime in June, and then SRF formally issues what they call a project priority list, which basically allocates the top priorities in the projects that land within their funding range, and then we go with that. We work with them. We collaborate with SRF to how to make the project a reality financially. Another piece of that puzzle is the USDA. David, is it rural development? Yeah. Is that what it's up to? They have a loan. But by the way, this is David. He's my colleague here. So I'll refer to him. Also working with USDA, they also have grant funding that we'll be working with them. USDA and SRF collaborate very closely together, and so they fund projects jointly frequently, and so we're working with both of them collaboratively to get the project funded and make it a reality. And then the last one, Baker Tilly, they're kind of the ones who do a lot of the financing. We have a project, we have a total cost, but they come in and work with regional sewer districts, and I presume the county council probably works with Baker Tilly as well. It's for
I think you're awarded. For them to do that.
Yeah, a lot of their financing needs. They pull all of these things together and how it all rates and all the finance side of all that. So we work with them. They're a part of the team on coming up with user rates and just all that aspects of what it takes to run a regional sewer, to run a sewer district in general. I guess moving on. I guess the next part, the design process. Like I mentioned, we generated a preliminary engineering report. We submitted that to SRF. It's our design, I would say, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% done. we're in a bit of a holding pattern until we hear back from SRF. We want to make sure that our project, SRF has a technical side. They review project plans technically. And so before we continue down the road of doing a design, we want to get feedback from them that they agree, because otherwise we don't get so far down the road and then have to rework. And it's really just a process of utilizing the county's dollars wisely. We don't want to put the cart before the horse. And so we're moving forward. Moving forward with that, we're in a bit of until we hear back from them, like we submitted April 1st is when PRs were due. We're in a bit of a lull period. Not a lot happening on the project at the moment. And then maybe just speak to the project itself. We're looking at gravity sewer, gravity lift stations and force main from Hayesville throughout Hayesville to address some of their septic tank issues. Pumping that down basically adjacent to US 231 into a lift station in Jasper, David lift station. But do you know the name of it? I can't remember which one it is.
43rd Street.
40, did I right? Anyway, close enough. 43rd Street lift station. It's up on the north side of town. And maybe jumping ahead a little bit on what I have written down, but we've had quite a few meetings with the city of Jasper and Renee and the mayor and Chet Herm. We've had a lot of collaborative meetings with them and making sure they're on board, because they will take our wastewater, and at the regional sewer district, they have to pay, the regional sewer district have to pay Jasper to treat it, but we also have to collaborate with them to make sure Jasper can handle it, make sure they can handle the amount of flow that we're going to bring to them. And so we're working closely with them on doing some of that. Yes.
Question. So the lift station, existing lift station, is going to be able to handle the additional flow, and you won't have to do a force main directly to the waste treatment plant. That's a big lift station, I'm assuming.
It is a big lift station, and
That's all, I mean, you want to go and talk to it?
come on up, David.
Won't you introduce
Yep,
yourself?
sounds good. Yep, David Witchman, Clark Deeds. So that side of the project is really on Jasper to handle, and they also have submitted a PER to SRF, very similar to what we did. And they have to decide basically what their plan is. They still want to build a waste treatment facility on the north side of town, to where they wouldn't have to put a brand new force main all the way through the city to their existing wastewater treatment plant. But the last meeting we had, and we've had several meetings directly with them, with the commissioners and Brent with county engineer, to make sure that we're all on the same page. But they were still deciding that plan based off of what SRF.
Right, and the short of it is, if we can take it to this lift station, they can handle it. We take all of their future growth. So they can handle what we can take them, but they can no longer grow in that direction. And so they are addressing that problem while we're addressing a different problem. But we're working together so that you know, it benefits everybody for Hayesville to have their problems addressed and fixed. And then it can also benefit the city of Jasper to, they're looking to expand to the northwest, particularly. So
That's changed a little bit since the original presentations, and I'm not on the sewer board, so I don't really know as much as the people that are. But I didn't know Jasper had as much skin in the game for the development of that new plant, which is good. I just didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. I think kind of what's happened is they've been able to realize the benefit to all parties is this definitely will help Hayesville. I mean, that's what got this whole thing started, was being able to address Hayesville and Portersville, Hayesville being the first. But then they're also realizing that, you know, hey, this can really help us grow to the north where we've always wanted to grow more.
That was an American representative for Hayesville and Portersville. That's all I was.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's kind of why we're here. It's been a while, and just come back and give an update. So, as far as the design process, kind of where we stand. Like I said, we're plus or minus 50% design, kind of holding pattern. This is only Hayesville coming down. That's just due to funding. I mean, it's roughly twice the cost because it's pretty close to the same distance, same, just different directions. And so we have to break it down into pieces that can be afforded. So that's just where we're at. Schedule right now, like I mentioned, we're getting on the SRF project priorities, the PPL, they call it, acronym for everything. We're on the SRF project priority list, get ranked and scored, and then we're going to move forward. Reality, we're probably sometime next year before we can move forward.
With design or?
No,
With design?
Yeah, no, with being, we will move forward with design as absolutely as soon as we can. But with land acquisition, with getting through the SRF process, it will probably be early next year when design's ready to bid. SRF is going to drive a lot of this process, timeline wise, and so there's something I'm missing. I feel like there's something I'm missing.
So you said reality is 2025 to go with the bid process?
Yeah,
Yeah, the design will be, the process will work where basically SRF will give us an approval on our PER saying, yep, your direction is good, solid design, but now then you have to go into the funding and the other requirements, which means like land acquisition and there's a few other things, and Jasper's plan having to basically come together before you can build it. But our design would be solid at that point where we could continue on and get to 100% design.
right.
But that's what Keith was saying. The reality of the 2025 date is more having all of that other stuff kind of set before SRF can sign the check.
Right, because so we'll assuming July 1st project priority list, SRF says the project's good to go. We continue design, but we don't want to start the land acquisition process before we know that. We don't want to buy land that could be questioned. Well, the land acquisition process it just takes time. It just does. There's and
And the land act, what we're gonna try to acquire is just the stuff for the lift stations?
Well, you'll also have to do like some easement acquisitions for,
Because we're gonna try to stay in most of the public right of way, right?
well,
No?
no.
I'm trying to remember.
As of the last meeting with the commissioners, so we'll go into some detail here. As of the meeting that we just had, or shouldn't say just, a couple months ago, had with the commissioners, right as we were submitting PER, we decided that it would be in the best interest to go outside of US 231 right away. Reason being is twofold. Mid-States corridor comes through and goes down parts of 231. We're going to have to move the new pipe we just put in place if it's in right away.
Now,
And we have to move it on our dime. I should say our dime, your dime. If it's outside of right of way and we buy easements and NDOT makes us move it, they pay for it. And it just, if we were, let me tell you, if we were moving forward going inside of the right of way, that's okay. That's an okay way to go. It's a process dealing with the state in that way. It's still going to take just as long to get permits for that as it will for land acquisition. Land acquisition does cost money too, and so.
the land, go ahead.
Have you put feelers out? Will people, you think there's a good feeling that people will have that running through their property? In front of their property in that road? Or-
For the most part, the land that we're running through is, they still can farm over it. You can still, it's still usable land. They just can't put any permanent structures on top of it.
Right.
And with as close as that we're going to,
So just think, so you got your right of way on 231, roads here, right of ways on 20 feet outside of that. We're just gonna buy 10 feet outside of that.
Sure.
And it's not highly usable. It's probably outside of any structure, building offset. anyway.
I'm just saying if someone would object to that.
And there will be some that will. We just talking about
principle, there will be.
And there might be times where we just say, the heck with this, we're gonna jump to the other side of the road.
Seems like that's just something we almost have to have an idea.
And once we hear back from SRF, then we'll take that information, okay, SRF is on board with this, they're good with our plan and how we're gonna get there. Okay, now we're gonna look and see where and how much land we need to.
And one of the things too is SRF will give us a general, like your plan for a gravity station and force main is good. As far as like horizontal alignment, where that pipe is, if we move it, it's not like it holds the whole process up.
Right.
Like they're saying, yeah, generally your plan is good.
They're looking at the big picture of gravity station, gravity and lift stations and force mains versus low pressure pump system versus a new treatment plant altogether. They're looking at the big picture. They're not down in the minutia.
And then if that's not this, in June, I guess, when we get SRF and answer, it's not desirable for us, that they don't want to give us, we're not high on the priority list. They don't want to give us a whole lot of grant money or.
Right.
So
And-
that's going to make a difference here too, because,
It will.
Because there is a potential, especially considering how much Jasper has in it, and we've talked to SRF, they understand that the Jasper project of whatever they are deciding to do and our project are closely tied together. So if they don't see both of the projects, I guess, as, quite ready, we might be a little bit lower on but they do also understand the need for the community on this one. They've said that before.
Yeah.
Has Jasper, are they willing to sign an MOU for us to put this into this lift station? What if their plan's 5 years off or 4 years off? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Can we go ahead with our project and put it into this lift station that they have?
Yeah, yes.
So,
From all indications we've been given from Jasper, yes, we can do that. Another thing that we're kind of working on, probably slower than I'd like, is putting together what I'm calling a narrative or a story about the big picture. What we want to do to aid in Hayesville and Portersville, and get that wastewater into Jasper to be treated. What Jasper wants to do to utilize the possibility of a future either treatment plant or something on the north side to spur growth up there, and how this can all collaborate together. Working on pulling something together that kind of tells the story of the big picture for all parties.
So originally, it's kind of mentioned possibly a package plant, but the way this sounds, Jasper's gonna build a full-on treatment facility with digesters and.
Jasper wants to build it. They're trying. That's what they want.
Like a full-on treatment.
A full-on north side treatment plant. And they have some complications, some hurdles for that to happen. They're not that different than from the hurdles of putting a package facility at the north end, because, if we put a package facility up at the north end, you have an all new discharge into a waterway, and a new discharge into a waterway is, it's a permitting nightmare. Can it be done? Of course. It's not desirable. The EPA, which rules over IDEM, really likes to see larger treatment facilities because they get better results, and they can kind of oversee larger facilities that are handling more flow than a bunch of little all over the place. Sometimes you can't help it, but.
Well, now it's a question, because when you get past Walmart, the plane starts going to the White River shed, so you're gonna have to discharge your effluent to the White River shed, which the White River shed is like the major topic of the whole state of Indiana due to its pollution.
Yep.
So that's why they don't have you route the effluent, or you're just gonna have a new plant that's so good your phosphorus levels are basically zero, because that's what IDEM is gonna require.
Yep.
That's
So
what
there's
they're
gonna
going
be a
to require.
lot of,
And that's
gonna be a full-on project. You're gonna have to go
And that's what they're planning on, I believe, that they're.
with the specs that are allowed for
Yeah.
points of which
Right.
discharge.
Right. And I think that is a lot of the hurdles that Jasper's just gonna have.
Makes a lot more
Is
sense.
where they're discharging at specifically, and
Right, because the
what
existing
are those
discharges
limits?
to the south. Right? I'm saying that? Yeah, the existing plant discharges. The new plant that they want will have a new discharge and it's just a hurdle. Really, the only other thing I'd talk about, I just wanted to, kind of a meeting with, well, several of you, Daryl, and you, Mike, had come to a few Sandy's, and the commissioners, we meet regularly. It's been a little off since we're kind of in a bit of a low period here, but we'll get those kicked back up once we start getting design picked up. We meet regularly and we talk through a lot of these, issues and things that, as they come up, and we're gonna hash out how it's moving forward. And it's pretty similar with the city of Jasper. It's a little bit less frequently, but we are meeting with, and like I said, we're meeting with Renee and the mayor, and just staying in touch and making sure that we're all trying to move forward together as best we can. And
Yeah, it just seems like a long time,
And
it's a slow process. I know,
well, and
we've been talking about this, seems like.
and every time we talk to SRF, and the SRF is always really forward and saying like these things take years. Every single time they do it, it takes years. Be patient. We're going to work through the process.
Because I remember last April when we put the SRF thing in, and you were second or third on the list. Well, then we can't do anything.
Well, that's part of the reason why we're trying to set expectations where there's like, we're not gonna have it, probably is not gonna happen.
And honestly, that's a big reason why I'm here. And I said this, I feel like I said it 1,000 times. I'm probably going to say 1,000 more. Mike, you couldn't make it, but Daryl said we were both there. That I'm trying to be out in front to set expectations. I don't want anybody to think that on Thursday we're going to go break ground. Like it's going to be a process, and I'm going to be back here, I'm sure, several times to keep you updated on the process. But we're going to keep it moving forward in the right direction, and we're going to get some relief to those people up in Hazelville and Portersville over time. It's just going to take time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come in. I don't want to answer any other questions, I guess, for a little time here, but I don't know if the next person will want to hear anyway. So. Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah.
So, all right, well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
We'll stay in touch with us.
Oh, she's probably not gonna, doesn't look like she's coming. We got other things to do though.
Looks like Kathy Herman is going to be here, but she's not here, so, talk about the mental health social worker. So I don't know what kind of questions she had on that, but commissioners created the position in March 18th meeting, and so when we created it, we were just waiting for that. Grant was approved, planning and implementation.
They're working through the planning and implementation phases now, so we're just not ready yet.
So we're still looking at possibly
Hey, since you have any other update, I don't.
mid to late July, so before that's going to take place. So, okay, the ambulance, the next thing, discussion item here is the ambulance bay air conditioning. I put a lot of information on, what we had discussed at last meeting. We had issues with the that new bay at the Du Bois Fire Station, kind of getting heated up because it's on the side of the building where the sun sets, so in the evening that ambulance gets rather warm in there, and the drugs, they're concerned about the drugs being ineffective by getting too warm or too hot. So anyway, we they had taken got a bid here, to add that to the building, cool the bay where the ambulance sits or is parked. So that's $5,500, and I think I sent information on the county attorney's going to create an MOU that that we would dedicate the funds for the $5,500. The Du Bois Fire tax, I guess the Du Bois Fire District would accept us or allow the hospital put that in that day, and the hospital would sign off, that and also the Du Bois Fire Department would our fire district, I should say, will take over the,
I think it is the
repair
fire
maintenance of the
department.
facility. Pardon me,
I think it is the DuBois Fire Department.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know, does anybody have any, like I said, I laid out a pretty good plan, you know, what's gonna happen. The commissioners would sign the MOU, agreeing to this, and it kind of parallels, kind of the approval that we gave when we gave the 300,000 of ARPA funds to build that bay. So, if nobody has any questions or discussion on it, I'll entertain a motion to use ARPA funds of $5,500 for them to install that HVAC system.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Meredith has made a motion, is,
And I'll second.
okay, Gerald has seconded, so further discussion before we vote on it? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And then we'll move on to the highway, I guess,
The highway, Brent Winhole attended a training, and we paid $1,045 for him to go to that training. And now that organization has reimbursed him that, and they would like to put that back in this line item. Because usually once it's spent, we can't put it back in without you reappropriating it. So they've received a check for $1,045. They just want to put it back in that line item to use for other travel and training.
questions or discussions on that? Again, this was run by the county commissioners also, and they approved it, so.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Doug has made a motion, and I have a second.
I'll second.
Sonia has seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Appropriation for the, looks like the park. What happened there, you know, I think I had some discussion with what's his name?
Carson?
There was a shop in the restroom facility and shower facility at the campground. There was a leak in there, so he had to get Nesper to tear it apart. It's all blocked, and they didn't make, I guess, access doors or anything, so he had to tear it apart. And anyway, they think that cost is gonna be about $3,300 to repair that shower. So what they wanna do here is take the line items of consulting and legal fees and utilities of $2,000 for consulting and legal, and utilities of $1,000, and put that into supplies. So again, I spoke with Christine prior about it, and it's just something that we need to do. We can't have like plastic over the shower, put the summer here and then it fixed. And this is a way for them to do it, because they don't have enough money in their maintenance account to do this for their maintenance.
Yeah, their non-reverting fund is being used by the project for the park improvements with the playground.
Right.
So this is a way that we can use the funds, and then they'll revamp their budget next year.
Discussions on this? Questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that, transfer the appropriations for $3,000 from supplies, from personal services and other services to supplies.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Sonia's made a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Alex has seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay. I have a request to transfer money in the American Rescue for the highways hydro excavator. I think Steve talked to you about all that. He went to the commissioners, they approved using ARPA money, but what I'd like you to do is move it from the HELP grant to capital outlay so we can buy a piece of equipment with it. It's $83,500.
Discussions or questions on that?
83,500.
Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to make that transfer.
I'll make a motion.
Doug has made a motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
Sonia has seconded, so further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, request for additional appropriations for the circuit court.
The judge is on the schedule for the next meeting at 4:30 to come and talk about it more in detail if you want. But he is running out of money for the jury trials, for jury pay. So he's requesting $50,000 in jury pay. And then psychiatric services, medical, and interpreter, he's requesting $25,000 because he has to have certain evaluations on people and go to court.
What was it, 25,000?
For psychiatric services, medical, and interpreter. We do have a Spanish interpreter here, but sometimes we have to have other kind of interpreters, so.
Okay, I guess my question on this is, why are we off so far, on the budget? $50,000, $75,000 here.
That's significant.
In community corrections, they said it's been a humongous jury trial year. I don't know if that's true, but I can say I know 4 people, including my wife, that have been summoned for it, so.
We've had several jury trials in the last 2 months. I mean,
It's almost weekly now.
yeah,
Are these criminal cases or?
Yes, most of them are.
I don't do court side, so I'm looking at you,
Yeah, most of
but
them are criminal cases that are jury trials.
Just a lot.
and I think that's something you can't predict. You can have a year with none, and you can have a year with, and some of them settle out, and some of them don't.
I guess we're not even in the middle of May yet here. That's what's concerning, I guess.
Well, and I think that's what's concerning the judge, that if he doesn't ask, we'll be hammered again with more, or if he does, maybe we won't.
Okay. So, do we we just advertise for this?
That would just be a consensus to advertise, and then he'll come back at the next meeting.
Okay. So, we got to do them separately, 50,000 and
They're both in the general fund, and they're both in his budget under other services, so you can do them together.
And any other?
I just split them out so you know by line item.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So, no further discussion, otherwise let's see. Show of hands that who's in support of $75,000.
How does that work, Sandy? I thought the state had some money that goes toward those. No?
No.
Okay. I thought they did.
The state pays for the prosecutor, the deputy prosecutor, and the judges.
No.
They don't pay for anything else. Now, we do have a jury pay fund, but right now, I don't know, I think there's like maybe $20,000 in it. We're trying to build it back up, and it takes several years to build up. And then we start using it again, but 20 isn't very much, you can tell. So by the time you use it, we have to build it back up for several years again.
I think the next item I have here is, I'd like to cover what, I think Sandy sent this out about Matrix.
Did I give it to everybody? I can't remember if I did all of you or if I just did.
I think everybody had it, so, I mean, it's, why don't you, don't mind Sandy to take a little time and explain it to us?
Right now, the county servers, we have a main server, a duplicate server, and a backup. And it's in different parts. You've got the server part, you've got the storage part, and our storage part is going to be out of support in October 31st. So Matrix looked at just doing that portion because 2 or 3 years ago we did the server part, and just to do the storage part was going to cost over $140,000 because HP bought out VMware, and the prices went way up. So what he did was, instead of just quoting that, he went to a whole new system with a whole new servers under a different name, or not HP, it's a different product. I think it's Scale Computing. So he said with this, he can do at the courthouse, that's the first section, he can do the servers. The second section is the disaster recovery, which is will be out at the new jail instead of here. And then they'll have the backup at the health department. So we're at 3 different locations in case there's a disaster. Something happens down here, they still function. And he said the whole project would be right under $130,000. And then we'd have a 5-year warranty on top of that with this system. So that's kind of this in a nutshell. He will present this to the commissioners at the next Monday at their meeting.
Again, we spoke about, in past meetings, we spoke about ARPA funds. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. You know, to use ARPA funds to pay for this $130,000. Again, just like the airport there, you know, we have to have this obligated by the end of the year, this money, and we have to have it spent by the end of 2025 or 2026. So, I mean, I think we still got sufficient funds to do these kind of things. My opinion would be that we would try to appropriate this on ARPA funds.
You have to do something. It's either the fix of the one or the fix of the other. So,
This is the less expensive way to do it, you know.
and it gives us more future growth.
And what we would be doing is, you know, the commissioners would still have to approve any kind of contract like this. We would just, so they would be able to understand, you know, we behind this. You know, they may, you know, I said something to Sandy about, you know, today about, you know, should we get, you know, this lot of money, should we get other bids? But, you know, I think in past contracts with Matrix, it's just tough to get somebody, you know, get another bid from Chicago or someplace, will come down here, then they dump it in our lap, and then next thing, 2 months from now, it'll work. Then we're gonna say, well, we'll be down there next week to look at it. Well, we can't do that. You know, we're kind of fortunate to have Matrix here. Locally.
Responsive is what you're saying.
Right. So,
Well, I don't know. You know as well as I do. If we're down, we're down. Nobody works. You rely so heavily on computers nowadays.
Everything's computerized anymore.
so I don't know if anybody wants to comment on it or have more discussion on it. Otherwise, you know, I'll take it. I guess I'll have a show of hands. I guess we can use ARPA funds. That's what I guess my ultimate ask is going to be here. But you know, I want to discuss it if anybody's got other ideas or.
There'd be a lot of choice. You can proceed.
That's the way I kind of look at it too. So, okay. Otherwise, show of hands that who wants to support this and using ARPA funds. So yes, it's everyone.
So you said yes or no? Okay, I didn't see your hand.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Okay, that's that. I did get your letter for your call letter for your meeting, for your county council meeting on June 22nd.
Yeah, just, I thought maybe, you know, these, who's ever gonna go, I mean, the hotel rooms, the ones at the Renaissance there are, you know, a lot lesser cost than if we wait. So I guess, you know, I think if Sandy could get us, whoever's thinking about going, again, I think this is probably one of the better conferences. I mean, you know, we had the state convention like at French Lake last year. You know, we spend one afternoon or one few hours talking about county council business. This gives you really a whole day to discuss with other council people. I think that, to me, this is the most rewarding conference there is, as far as the county council is concerned. So I mean, I'd like to go, I'm gonna definitely go, so I mean, it's on June.
June 22nd, it starts at 8:30 in the morning, so they will give you, they will allow you to get a room on June 21st. Now, I normally would book your reservation for the conference, but you can book your own rooms.
Right.
But then come to our office with your registration so we can give you a check to take along.
And sales tax exemption.
Yes.
So I don't know if anybody else has thought about it, when I, you
I'm
think,
ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, make sure maybe.
I'll be attending
So is that just the one, day on the 22nd?
on Saturday.
It's a Saturday
Stay
morning.
the night before since we're
it's
outside.
just so early to get up.
So,
I mean, the good part about it is
Did you get
before
one
you get there,
in Meredith.
you know, also
And there was a class too,
Hours, you know.
if anybody's interested.
Was
right,
that on Friday though? Was that
On Friday.
That is.
Yes, on Friday.
The budget.
there is a
budget
budget,
class.
there is a
Which,
budget.
I don't know if you guys got your call letter in the mail. It just came today.
It came by email, I think.
But what I'll do is I'll scan this and then you'll have the information.
I think we all get one.
I received a hard copy yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, same here.
Maybe I didn't. See the other day.
Yeah, it just came today in the mail and I get it because I can come to your meeting, but I am not gonna be there. So my daughter gets married that day.
Good reason.
I will not be there.
So I'll say something to Ron before you send.
So you two are not going?
I don't know, I haven't checked.
It does, seems like.
Well, I think I have until June.
June 1st.
There's only a limited number of rooms at that rate, I think, so you're saying we would go ahead and make.
I think you have to make your own.
Right. Okay.
Deadline for the room block is June 7th.
But there's only a certain number, I think, anyway.
So,
Well, there's a primary block of rooms for 167 and there's excess room block at 209.
So, is anybody thinking about taking that budget class? That's that afternoon before it starts at noon, I think, or whatever. One.
So you're definitely no, you're a maybe.
I don't think I'm gonna take it again.
Yeah, I have school,
We did that one honey or two last year, I think,
so,
pretty sure, I did that one.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
maybe it was all. So,
So, if anything else, we got to get me standing.
And Doug, I'm pretty sure Ryan is thinking about going, but we'll get it firmed up when he gets back.
He should be back here in a few days and. Did you have anything else, did you have anything else in the 2025 budget, or you just?
I just put it on there for you.
We were thinking about, I think, a lot of the grants and stuff, like the health department grant, they were looking at how to budget their wages in the future for 2025. So we almost have to give them some idea. I think June 1st is when they start on these budgets, all the department heads. So I just, I looked at, we're gonna need to give them an idea of what percentage of raise increase. I don't know.
We have some people with grants already in the process and been asking me, and I told them, hopefully you'll give them some guidance this evening.
Now, one week, whatever we decide tonight, we can always change at budget time, before.
You can always go lower,
Before we finalize it, so.
you can't go higher.
And the max we can do is 4%.
The growth quotient is 4%. We're capped again this year.
Last year, again, we, I might put this in there, we had, in 2021, we had 1.5%. In 2022 and 23, we had 3%, and in 2024, we had 6% last year for this period of time we're in now. We'd given a 6% raise, and other M-Polls, I think, had a 9% raise.
I would say there was some that got 9.
So, and I mean, there could have been a few others that had 9%, but there was very few besides M-Poll occupations. So, I kind of looked today you know, it looks like, I mean, the way inflation is trending, which, you know, the federal guidelines are, you know, the Federal Reserve, I guess, is trying to get inflation down to 2%. You know, our president says that's what's the goal, that's what he thinks he's going to get it to. But right now, this past few months of this year, it's running about 3.5% inflation overall. Food that's purchased in the grocery store is about 2.2%, and energy is 2.1%. That's what the federal is saying. So, CPI on those particular items, when you lump it together on all items, it's 3.5%. And a big carrier, a big push on that is insurance. You know, they say car and house insurance is really going up 20%. So, you know, so those kind of things drive the inflation rate higher. So, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I was thinking between 2 and 2.5% raise for next year, you know, projected. So, is what I was thinking. So, you guys can tell me what you want or what you want to do. But like I say, we can change it in August, September, that time frame. But we can't go any higher. I don't, maybe you all did your own research. The numbers are, you know, we're in a flux here, I think, of what cost of living is. I mean, it's just a flux.
My research shows similar numbers, and then, but like 2025, they're projecting CPI at 1.9. Now that could be a pipe dream too, I don't know.
That's what I say, their goal is to get it to 2%. You know, we're only, that's the difficult part about this. You are sitting here in May and we have to project what January of next year's gonna be, you know.
So what are they gonna do, raise rates? The Fed fund gonna raise rates?
I think they're gonna go down. But that's what they predict. But that's what they're hoping for, I should say.
I got a little, but I did talk to my first homeowner whose property taxes went down, so their assessment went down, but you know, the tax rate obviously didn't go up, just assessed value killed these people. I thought we were awfully generous last year with county employees. So I got on the gateway, compared employees in our county versus similar employees in surrounding counties. I'm gonna be around 2% for sure, personally. From what I've seen, we're not lagging, at least in manual labor or typical jobs, if you think of as county employees, very much in any facet that I see. So, and then, you know, the property tax that these people are paying, the ones that did go up, different from the person I just talked to. They're paying for this and they're getting hammered. And what kind of inflation would you say that the property tax is on average versus 20% generally with the assessed increase value? So 2% is where I'm comfortable, but I don't think private sector is handing out big raises because you got a soft job market and people can't job hop anymore. So even though they don't talk about it, I think private sector is cooling off some of themselves.
Well, thanks for your input.
I know Gateway was kind of misleading on our county numbers. Brian called me and we had so many employees. Well, that had included all the nurses we had for COVID, and so it kind of skewed our number a little bit.
Okay. Well,
We had more employees than we really had
okay.
because all those nurses and all that. So that number should be coming back down.
Anybody else want to comment?
Didn't we add some positions?
Yeah, but I'm talking, when we had those nurses at those COVID clinics, that really shot our number up. And those really weren't true employees. They were employees, but they weren't,
Temporary.
yes, temporary.
I mean, I send out what each percent makes, what the total cost is on the county. You know, I set that out 1%, 2, or 3%, and, you know, we can interpolate. But, you know, and then when we hire new employees, well, you know, a new employee is gonna cost you $75,000 by the time you get HERF and all that stuff paid. So, I mean, that, you know, that's why limited government is better, you know, that we can, so we can afford pay increases.
Am I right in interpreting this numbers as 1%, basically every percent's about $300,000 increase? Total 150.
No, 150,000, it's on that side sheet there.
But the general fund and the other funds,
No,
how do those factor into it then? Because those don't add up to that number.
she's got it calculated, Doug,
Right, but
It's
there's,
down
what I'm
here.
saying is the numbers right next to 150 or 149,000,
It's these numbers right here.
general, and
Yeah, the ones.
1% is approximately 150.
so how does the general gross and the other funds, how do those numbers calculate?
Well, out of the 150, the general fund's about 80, and other funds are,
Okay,
50.
I was confused. since
yeah,
it
this is your general,
add up to the
this is
exact
your
amount.
gross. And those are estimates.
Right,
On the first, so many pay periods of this year, that's how she did it.
Right.
And then
She took actual pay periods and then
Right.
extrapolated it out.
140, so each percent costs 100.
so about 150,000 each.
Right.
Right. With the employees we have now. When you add a new employee, it's not only wages and benefits, you gotta have a computer, you have to have a license for those computers, you have to have, you have to have a phone, you have to have a desk. It's a lot, there's a lot of soft costs behind it.
And subsidized health insurance that people would take.
Yeah, $35,000 package probably, right?
Right.
With birth and health insurance, which Perry County is in a lawsuit right now because they did away with those benefits for elected officials. So, I mean, maybe that's coming for us, I don't know, but.
Most people don't deny the insurance because we have a very good,
Yeah, it's as good as it gets.
and we carry kids to 26 because that's the law.
Anybody else want to make otherwise you want to make a motion of 2%? Does somebody else want to talk up? Speak up.
We played a lot of catch up, I would say, call it last year, so I was thinking a little closer to the 2.5, but I think, like we said, we can go, that's what I don't know, what we say, we can go down, but we aren't making this, right. But we would be deciding that number, we can't go.
Well, what you don't want to do is you don't want to say 2% and then get to budget time and go, okay, let's increase it, because then you change all those budget numbers. You can always cut them,
Mhm.
but when you plan on X dollars, then you can't go back and add things to it.
We also don't want to be too high as well, just because everybody's
Right.
figuring out their budget, and the numbers are going to be way off.
'Cause if
So
you
we
go-
wanna try to get close.
If you go into budget workshops and talk with the DLGF rep, and I tell him X dollar, you can always go lower than that, because it's gonna help you then, but if you go higher, then you're cutting this again.
So Ryan had called me early this morning, and he said 2%, he said he could be forced to go a little bit higher, but he just said 2%, that's what he was thinking.
I've been kind of like Meredith, I was thinking in the 2.5, I'm an optimistic 3, but, obviously, maybe 2.5, and then that covers us if there is something. But,
Knowing that we can
We haven't,
back it up.
in the years I've been on this, we've never cut it. We've never.
is that right? Okay.
Well,
We never cut it back, we've never,
I can see that problem.
We pretty much stayed with.
I do remember the days when we had everything done, and then the bottom fell out in 2008, and we had to cut everything.
Yeah.
I do hate to give the impression of, oh, we would like you to have a 2.5% raise and then get to budget day. Sorry, we
it's,
really don't, I don't like to do that.
it's gonna be deflating.
I don't like to do that.
So,
I was thinking along the lines of Daryl too, taking into account last year. I think that was a big correction year as far as
I think we covered,
everything was concerned, and, I'd be fine with 2.5% or somewhere around in there. 2.5, so, yeah. 2.25. We're all gonna say the averages of what we have
Yeah.
thought about, half for 2.5, half for 2, so 2.25 sounds about halfway in the middle.
So, I don't know, it sounds like. So it's
I think it is,
2.5.
or half and half, I mean, some say 2.5 and some say 2. Yes.
Ryan said, like I told you, Ryan told me, which you're not here to say this,
I understand.
but I mean, he said 2, and he, I guess, strong arm to 2.5, I guess is what he said.
So we're just leaning in the middle, 2.25.
You want to comment one more time, or you think we should just hold with 2%?
I'll stick with my 2, I think, just don't know anybody getting big raises.
Okay, well, let's do it this way. Who's in favor of 2? And who's in favor of 2.5?
Yeah, it's.
So we got a split.
Jesus over there.
Jesus on a tiebreak.
He thinks he's
I
right.
think Jesus would say higher, I wouldn't be in favor of the 3.
So,
I didn't vote.
okay,
But
Well,
we did make a lot of corrections last year, and I don't know, I'm concerned about who knows on the revenue side, where we're gonna land, I don't know. There's a lot of things that are gonna change here at the end of the year in November, I think, so, where we're gonna head, I don't know.
Yeah.
So if we erred on the side, come catch up on the other side, I guess I could. Well, I guess you actually got it. Maybe I don't even have to make a decision because you already had Ryan 4 to 3 on the 2 versus 2.5. But I guess I can.
difference of 300,000 to 375,000-ish.
I mean, I kind of got the same feeling Alex is gonna, I think the economy's gonna get solved. I think, people, he made some good points.
I know a lot of used, just like in the ag sector, used equipment's nosediving. It's tanking. Values. And you do now see car lots full of cars that, all those days of no inventory to purchase are gone.
Yeah, the COVID service has been
That's been
it's gone, and I just don't think it's fair to ask all the people in this county when we get the benefit packages that employees get and the hammering, like most of them got assessments to fund a 3+% raise for these employees that are compensated relatively well in the general area where we live. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm saying.
Well, it sounds like we had, we had 3 votes to 2, so let's just go with 2% then.
That's fine.
So we will notify the employee, when we hand out the budget stuff, we will tell them to figure out for a 2% raise.
Yes.
For both part and full time. Now, are you gonna, do the, if somebody thinks they need different, are you gonna go through that process with Marky, or is that done?
We're not doing that yet.
Okay, I just wanna clarify, because it'll be asked.
I just want to brief everybody on the Justice Center. I think you guys get the minutes too, it's getting very close to completion. Sheriff's moving into his new area about the end of May. I think, all the furniture is already in that part of it's in there. I think they were delivering EMA and 911 equipment, furniture. The architect punched out the building, which, looked at the imperfections of the building on May 9th. And they're getting their list together. EMA, we have a tower antenna on this building. And what we want to do is, she took all the antennas off and she's moving them out to the new tower up there. So I think the commissioners approved to remove this tower off the building. It's $4,250, but we're going to use, it's going to be part of the contract out there, the construction contract, because she stripped it off.
Well, they don't wanna leave it here, it's a 30-year-old tower, they don't wanna leave it here and have any issues where it
falls over
something.
cars or kills
And
someone.
Chad went up there and realized, we can't take it down ourselves.
So they're gonna they're gonna have Harmonic Electronics take it down. So I just want to make you aware of that. So, but that's not something we have to budget, it's gonna be part of the contract out there as a changeover, like. I think that's all I have, so we'll just go around if anybody's got anything else to report on.
At our Region 15 meeting, I guess that was, earlier this month, no, it was last month, it's May, gosh. That we had a representative from USDA that was there, he's come before, so it was kind of interesting timing talking about for regional sewer district time too, so that would be a potential funding mechanism, so that's the main piece.
Was he the local guy?
Yeah,
He's
Steve
on the
Culver's
budget.
name is, he's come once last year too. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
That's okay.
But yes. That's good. Anything else with him?
I got something. I've had multiple handicapped and elderly residents paying their property taxes. Talked to Sandy about this. They got to park on one side of the building and walk around to get into the door or up the steps to drop their property tax money in the drop box. I told them after talking to Sandy to maybe go to the commissioners meeting and see if they could open that door, or if they're gonna have enough people to ever have security on both sides, or how that ever worked, but they were pretty upset because they didn't understand why there was no parking here or no access to that door.
Brent reported at the last commissioner meeting that we are in compliance with our ADA parking out here. And the commissioners aren't gonna open the door yet, but, I mean, they heard the concerns too, because they've been receiving the calls. And I said, I've gotten them too. When people come in, they said, I challenge you to go out and get in a wheelchair and try to park and get in yourself.
It was multiple ones.
Yes.
Well, thanks for sharing that, I think they're looking into it, they're gonna talk to the city too, possibly. See, there's a handicap spot down here by the veterans office, right down here. But they were talking about, you know, having possibly another one on this side. So,
Up here,
on the
maybe.
east side here, so.
Yeah, that's the big concern is they get out, they can't get to it.
Right.
And the one lady said she parked on the west side and walked around, but there was police cars all in there and she had to go into the grass and she couldn't get there.
Anyone else have anything to report? So, Sandy, do you have anything?
I'm finished.
Public comment? No public comment? Okay. All right, otherwise, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting. Okay, wait a minute.
I have all the next meetings. June 17th is your next meeting. And then I usually list them in the minutes for the rest of the meetings out.
So, okay, so we have a motion on the floor to close the motion.
I second the motion.
So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
Actually, I just found it.